You know it deep down, if it's there or not. And guys, it's not worth looking back on boredom. What's going to come out of being bored or drifting is not going to be fruitful.
Okay, so Mike, do you like the winter time?
The winter time, my friend. Well, excuse me, I'm having a bite of a chip. You got me.
You have the sun chips.
What are we having here? Sun chips, garden salsa.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Oh, it's 100% whole grain. It's funny what they put on chips to make you think. So every chip bag has these things, right? So listen to this: 100% whole grain, heart healthy. Okay, chips.
All right.
No artificial flavors. Okay. 30% less fat than regular potato chips.
That's what they're leading with, right?
They say that, and then I'm looking at the ingredients, and there are 75 ingredients on this. So do you think it's really not artificial, or?
I think that those are, it's not really garden salsa and...
Whatever, man. I'm getting my veggies right now.
Yeah, you are.
These are. Why are you looking at them like that? What is your disdain? Do you really not like these?
I haven't had those in a while.
For the record,
haven't
Chris
had
looks like
grains.
he's going to vomit. And also, another, I guess, negative that we don't have cameras in here. Did you know Chris takes off his shoes every time before we record an episode? Why do you take off your shoes?
It's my gift to you, Mike. I like to get comfortable. We're just sitting here in something that looks kind of like a living room, kind of like a studio.
Yeah.
A lot of technology in here, but some comfortable couches, and I just like to make myself at home.
Interesting. Well,
yeah. I'm
glad you're comfortable. I know I like my shoes on, actually. So I should go back to your question.
Put your shirt back on.
Okay.
So
something weird about me, by the way, is I like having my shoes on, even when I'm home, which I don't know why. It's like I feel like I like being on the ready.
So you're sitting on the couch and you have your shoes on?
There are very often times I will be chilling on the couch. I still have my shoes on.
So you have whatever's on your feet, you're bringing into the house.
I don't have I'm not. What do you think I'm tracking into the house? I'm not
bringing the concrete on your feet into the house.
Dude, does the concrete stick to your tennis shoes when you walk? Do you walk in the house tracking concrete in your house?
Saying, usually people put their shoes up. A lot of cultures don't even allow for shoes.
I'm not cultured.
Inside, so.
Going back to your original question, sorry, I disrespected your question. Oh, speaking of cultures, I disrespected you. My apologies. Back to the topic. When I was a kid,
wee little lad,
bread was a nickel. Not as long ago as when you were a kid. I loved a snow day because there'd be no school. And then in Texas, where we live, it never gets snowy or icy. Just winter, sometimes just cold.
Yeah.
So whenever it would happen, I'd get excited. These days, I think about pipes busting. So then I get worried about money. And then while I'm happy if maybe I can't make it in to work and the kids are home and I can play with them outside. There's also a lot of remote work that still gets done. So it's just different these days. So I don't find myself I'd rather still be cold than sweating all the time, but I don't think I enjoy it as much as I used to.
Okay.
What about you?
I used to love the cold weather, of course,
Because of Denver and Broncos, and yes, every episode, man, just the Broncos. Yes, just say it.
I'm sorry. No, snow was part of my life growing up, and I always liked it. We had a great time in the snow. Yeah. And then moving to Texas, rolled around, jumped off of garages into big snow banks, things like that. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Nobody got hurt, right?
What about now?
Now that would hurt.
No.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to arrive at there. In Texas, it used to be neat. I'm going to say neat again.
That's fine, man. You're old. It's fine. Say neat. Embrace it.
It was neat to see a change in the weather. It was neat to see cold, snow, things that I was used to.
You're such an old guy. It was neat to see cold snow. This is what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Cold, it's supposed to hot snow.
But it's kind of worn out its welcome, I would say, as far as, because, we had the Snowmageddon a couple of years back.
That's true. Texans will remember that. Yep.
And now I just get worried whenever it drops below freezing for an extended amount of time that somebody's going to break.
I know. I hate thinking that way, too, because I'm like, I know it's the old man in me. But it's reality. Yeah. It's reality. It may break. I know.
But I'm having to attend to things that, more out of my comfort zone of, is this insulated? Is this, are these pipes, or are these pipes going to be okay? And I'm just,
I don't want to have to think about that stuff.
Yeah. but we have to.
I know we do. I know we do.
I don't know. It's kind of worn out its welcome a bit, but I always like how it looks. I mean, I love seeing the snow the other day when it was, or a couple weeks ago when it was here. And you look at it and you're like, this is not something we get to see all the time.
No. I enjoy it whenever that happens. Yeah. Speaking of something else I enjoy is the topic we're talking about today.
What are we talking about?
Not so quite much enjoy as much as I often wonder why this seems really prevalent in men. It's a topic for men. Women are invited to listen and to hear what we're saying.
Like men problems.
It's you don't know where I'm going with this. Right. You don't know guessing. No. Have you noticed, or would you agree with me, that a lot of men seem to be bored and maybe they're drifting through life?
Have I noticed, like, just seeing people that look
whether
like
lately or an increase or if it's our stage of life, I feel like I'm coming across more men, women too, yes. We're talking about men though in this like subject that seem to be bored and I would say drifting. They're just kind of drifting through their day, their week, their month. Talk to them, there's a little bit of a blah, apathetic, maybe kind of response. They're just going, oh yeah, no. It's just kind of a, I don't know. I feel like that's like maybe 7 out of 10.
Okay.
I'm experiencing a lot of that. Have you experienced that?
I don't know what to look for there, and I don't know if it's being offered to me saying, hey, I'm feeling this way. Mm-hmm. So I think that's part of the problem. Maybe I'm just not paying attention.
Yeah, maybe you're just bored. Maybe you're not even paying attention.
Maybe I'm bored.
Yeah, you're probably just drifting through life.
Entertain me.
You're
Stop
like,
being so blah.
You're like, Mike, now that you say that, I think maybe I'm doing that. I don't know. It makes me wonder. There's a lot of men that we know sometimes are kind of like, big boys out there. They don't want to take responsibility, right? We know plenty of guys that take responsibility. They have the drive. Like that's great too. But I just think there's a good amount that, and I'm not blaming anyone. I've been there. I think there's a good amount that seem to be pretty bored with where they're at in life. And if I said something about, if you feel like you're drifting, I think there'd be a lot of head nods. And so I don't know, sometimes when I just seem to experience it in large quantities, it makes me want to back up and go, okay, what's going on?
Can we dive into the drifting a little bit? What does that look like?
It's probably different for everyone, but I think what I'm trying to describe is you're just drifting through your day-to-day. There's not much maybe volatility, not much action, like kind of in a boat where, those waves, like when a boat passes you and the wake is like decreasing as it's getting you in, and let's say you're kayaking and like it barely moves when the water goes under. Like I kind of think it's almost drifting like that. You're just really not doing much.
Okay. So you're not really getting anywhere.
Yeah.
So destination wise,
yeah, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just kind of floating,
kind of stuck.
Yeah. I mean, well, with like maybe a little bit of movement, but like not towards anything you're aiming for. You're just moving around.
Yeah. Well, I would say that sure, I see probably examples of that and just what people are drawn to.
What do you mean?
If you're drifting, it doesn't mean that you're just sitting there doing nothing, right? Your attention is being taken up by something.
Mm-hmm.
And so
maybe you're being distracted. Is that kind of what you mean?
I think that can play into it too. Is that
I could see that.
We're distracted. And so,
I could see that. Yeah, totally.
And certainly we spend a lot of time on our phones. We, maybe it's just shows that we're watching. Maybe it's sports that we get involved in. Maybe it's just how we're choosing to spend our time.
Do you think sometimes we get pulled at the same time in so many different directions? You're just kind of, if you're in that boat and you're getting pulled literally in every direction around the boat, you end up not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of like
spinning.
You're not making any progress with anything.
Yeah.
I just wonder if that weighs on us as just a man that's created to, I mean, we see in the Bible, men and women both who created to work. That's an aspect. I mean, Adam and Eve were given responsibilities before the fall. So while things were perfect, we still had responsibilities. We still cared to things, worked for things. So clearly we're supposed to have purpose, drive, work, like movement towards something and taking care. So then it makes me go, okay, I wonder when we don't have that type of movement or progress, bad things start to happen. Bored is one example.
Right.
But that's the one we're talking about, where I wonder if we're so distracted or pulled in many different directions, we just kind of stop. I don't know. We stop caring and stop moving towards something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can't say that I can think of anybody that I've talked to that says, I don't want to move forward, or I don't want, I love so much where I'm at that I don't need to grow. I don't think that's the case.
No.
So I think it's something that happens to where maybe we're not thinking about it, or we don't realize that it's keeping us in one place where we'd like to be in another.
Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah, because I actually have never encountered someone. I've had people tell me that they're bored, but I haven't had a guy say, "Man, I'm bored and I just want to stay there and be bored." Like, you're right. We're not verbally saying it. So there must be something that is taking place. Maybe it's subconscious. Maybe we don't even know. So I wonder if that can be attributed to we start taking steps towards something, and then maybe here comes, I don't know, attacks from the enemy. Maybe here comes our own selfishness or sin that gets in the way. Something must be getting in the way of what we're originally designed for.
Right.
That the result is boredom, drift, apathy, blah kind of a feeling, right?
I think yes, you're right. When we are bored, we'll just put ourselves there. We're bored. We're not, I don't think we're close to having some sort of solution to get us out of that boredom. I think we want to find something that gets us out of there, whether we say it to somebody or not. I can't think of a lot of people that have told me, I'm glad that, not glad, but you say that you've talked to people who've told you that. I don't have a lot of people saying, hey, I'm bored. I'm really needing to find something. And I think a lot of that has to do with growing up. Maybe if you said you were bored, your parent probably said, I'll find something for you to do. So I think we look for solutions to boredom, but maybe those aren't always the best solutions.
I'm thinking about this. Our kids will often, sometimes come in a room and be like, I'm bored. And we're like, you need to find something to do. Like, it's not our job to like entertain you. Like, we don't just juggle for you because you're bored kind of a thing. It's like dance monkey. Like, we're not just monkeys. But, I do believe deep down in every man, it's the context we're talking about, there's a drive. There's a drive for purpose. Whether or not you're a follower of Jesus or not, I really believe in every man, they absolutely do not want to be bored. And then I also know from my own experience and just others, and you meet anyone, then you can also drift into boredom. And I think at times, for me, I found myself there when I'm not intentional anymore, whether it's about, could be my walk with Jesus, it could be with my marriage or being a father or in my jobs or just interactions with the people. I don't want to put out the effort. Yeah. Like in my honest, transparent moment, I don't care and I don't put out the effort. And then the other times I think I found myself bored the most is when I like self-indulge, I'm probably eating too many chips like I shouldn't have right now, but it's like if I just check out and I want to just have a weekend that's just for me, by the end of that weekend, I'm not feeling good,
energized, or
no, I feel
purposeful,
flat.
or
I feel like I wasted my time. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I get a whole guilt after that, but I would look back and be like, I was bored, and that self-indulgence maybe for a split second felt cool, but it didn't result. It resulted in almost an increase of maybe that blah or the apathetic feeling, So it seems like, so if I'm not intentional on one side, or if I'm just really just thinking about me, at least for me, that's like, so whenever you've experienced kind of that boredom or drifting or distraction that's maybe caused that, like, can you think of like a motivator for you?
Yeah, I would say, confusion causes that, especially if you're thinking, or if there's a big decision to be made, or something's not right and you're looking for ways to solve the problem, that could lead to this paralysis of analysis there and not wanting to do anything, wanting to just
give up, like throw in the towel or something.
Not really giving up, but just not knowing what to do. And so therefore distraction becomes a little bit more welcome at that point because you're not wanting to think about the problem.
Is it because you're using the distraction to escape?
I think escape is
okay.
There.
So maybe if there's, like you're saying, almost like if there's too many choices, too many thoughts, you don't really know where to go, whether or not you're being aimless or whether or not you're overwhelmed with the choices, whatever.
Right. Politics, sports, entertainment can fill that void really easily.
Yeah. You just almost grab that as an escape because because the thought of working maybe through the thought process is like it's too much.
Yeah.
So you almost snooze it for later. Do you go back to that eventually and like work through that confusion, or do you just like
probably not thinking about it? Of course, I think we're wired to want to figure things out.
Sure.
And unfortunately, the thing that we need the most during those times is, what people might describe as even more boring, having a quiet time or having some stillness, seeking out a peaceful setting and spending time by yourself with the Lord. That is not something that I think we run to by our nature.
I would agree. I would agree. I don't think we do.
But I think it's probably one of the better solutions there to help you arrive at the thing that you need to do or what you need to decide on.
Why do you think, I agree with you 100% that people a lot of times and a lot of guys think what you just said is boring.
Yeah,
like the last thing they'd ever want. Why is it so boring, you think? What do you think the misconception is that it's so boring?
That you're not going to get anything out of it, that God may stay silent during those times, or that what you read you might not connect with. I don't know if those are all cognizant thoughts, like that's going to happen, but I don't think we run to those moments of I want to be by myself. I want to not talk. I want to listen to the wind blowing as I'm reading something. I just don't know if we're wired that way to want that.
Well, there's different ways to go about it too, right? Like you said, quiet time as an example. And, in my head, I don't always view time with Jesus as quiet time. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But sometimes that can lead to misconceptions, right? Like sometimes you need, okay, guys, sometimes we need to be quiet. Like we need to shut up, honestly. Like if we really think about it, there are times just like stop talking. We need to stop. There's definitely a time to be still. There's times to, especially in our relationship with the Lord, it's a real relationship. And we don't really treat it as that. There are times to pray and hash it out with God and talk and be honest or be mad, get emotional about it. Like, God, why is this so boring? Like, help me with this. Like, just be real. Yeah. It doesn't have to be, I think sometimes we think it's this like kumbaya, laying on a cloud in a diaper, like it's just like this thing that guys would be like, I'm never going to do that.
Right.
Which I don't blame you because we shouldn't do that. Don't get in a diaper.
Sorry,
don't change into your diaper, please. No, but it's like I think we just have this. We just have these misconceptions. And then for me, if I go back before the Lord, not only does obviously He transform me, and there's a whole nother episode to talk about that, as far as how God Himself actually changes my mind and my perspective. A lot of it for me is just I need a reminder of what I was wired for and how I'm designed to begin with. We're just forgetful. Every human being is just so forgetful. So I just need the reminder like, oh, that's right. I'm driven, like even to work and a purpose and a drive. So if I'm not moving in those directions, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's literally like a design, and I wasn't the designer. If God's the designer and goes, hey, you don't find yourself driving towards purpose and stuff, guess what? You're going to be bored. It's going to be bad.
You hit on something really good there too, because it is about knowing what our purpose is. Because if our purpose is about living for ourselves, then we're going to think about ourselves. And we're going to think, okay, I'm bored. I need something that's going to shake me out of this boredom, or something new, something that I want to try. Well, the answer's sitting right there for us.
Yeah.
If we believe this Bible and we have this relationship with God, then we talked about it last episode, how challenging it might be for some people just to talk to another person, a friend, and encourage them and say something about them that, you respect, something that you love about them. That's not boring. That
That's exciting.
That's exciting right away, right?
It's a
it takes you out of your...
Well, it's a risk. A little scary. It's vulnerable. But then like the fruit of that, sorry, I just burped everyone, but the fruit of that is like, that's incredible because you know what? Someone's going to look at you and go, thank you. I actually today needed to hear that. Yeah. And then you realize, oh, I was a part of something bigger than myself. I was reading something the other day that talked about how, how it is tough work. Where we talk about risk, it's tough work to work hard, to be in people's lives, right? To invest time and energy. If I say right now, hey, let's all go make a new friend, chances are our first thought is like, oh, I don't have the time or the bandwidth to do something like that. So I understand it takes a toll, honestly. And what I was reading was kind of talking about, well, you have two choices. One is you can live a life of never taking those risks or chances, and you are going to be the most unfulfilled person ever. Translation to, you're going to be bored. You're going to be bored out of your mind, and you're going to hate life. If you're going to be honest, you're not going to like life.
Yeah, it's a great recipe for being stuck, right?
Yeah.
And not growing at all.
Yeah, and that's that first choice. And the second choice is, or you can take the risk and take the work it takes and reach out and get involved in different things and in people's lives and carry burdens with one another and love and serve one another. And yes, it is going to be tiring, but then you're going to be fulfilled. And I actually think a lot of guys out there can resonate with the feeling of, there have been days and times you've ended your day really tired, but you also were fulfilled at the same, like, and it would be hard to describe. And you hit your head on the pillow, satisfied with, man, that was a great, I'm exhausted, but that was awesome. I know there's something deep down in us that we love that. I think that's part of what we're wired for.
Yeah. There's a scene of a movie that I think about when you describe that, Saving Private Ryan. I think we've all seen it, so there's no spoilers there.
Yeah.
There's a scene where
he gets saved.
Well, Tom Hanks and his crew, basically his the men that he's leading through, his squad.
Yeah.
They're in a church and they're bedding down for the night, right? In this church after they've had a battle. And one of the guys, Jackson, he's the guy from the South. He's the one who believes in God. He's the one that's quoting scripture through the movie. He's sleeping peacefully, and they're commenting on it. They're like, how can he sleep so peacefully? And one of the guys says, he doesn't have a guilty conscience. And so that reminds me of what it means to, when you have a good, hard day's work. Yeah. You've done the things that you know you should do.
Yeah. Yes, 100%.
You've taken those steps, you've taken those risks, and then you sleep peacefully at night. I don't know why that scene struck me so much, but it was, that's how we should live our life. He certainly saw some things during that day that were terrible and had to do some things that were terrible. I think that's the day where he was the sniper of the movie that had to take somebody out.
Yeah.
But he did his job.
Yeah.
And he loved his brothers. Yeah. And he slept well.
Yeah. And there's something really compelling about, that scene. And then we talk about a day. Now think about like a week or a month or like 10 years. Not perfectly. We're not, no one's advocating that. The whole premise is not quite there. We're not going to be there all the way. But then imagine the impact and the fruit and the adventure and the risk and the trial and errors. And that can be scary. But wouldn't you rather have gone for it in different areas of your life, whether it's with a job or a hobby or with people or dating or friends or whatever it is? Like wouldn't you rather look back and just appreciate that you stepped into the game versus the regret that you're going to have if you're sitting on the sidelines and you're going to look back and go, why didn't I just get in the game?
And some people might be asking, how do I get in the game? I don't know. That's the problem. I'm bored and I don't know what to do about it. I don't like to throw solutions out there, not knowing everybody in their situation, but it does seem like you can take, for instance, a fruit of the Spirit. Take kindness.
Yeah.
How are you going to apply that to the people in your life this week?
Yeah.
What risks are you going to take to be more kind?
Yeah.
With strangers or people who are really close to you?
Yeah.
that will certainly bring some excitement because the world's not kind.
Yeah.
You might not get kindness in return. In fact, you might get something coming at you that's intentional that is definitely not kind.
Yeah.
How do you respond to that?
Yeah.
And then what does that do? How does that change your reaction? How does that change you? Just to be able to model that.
You know, you're making me think of, it's really practical. It may not apply to everyone, but you know, sometimes when you call like customer service and you're probably upset about something, you didn't get a refund or you weren't charged the right way or whatever. And you can tell when you're talking to the person on the other end of the phone, they're reading like, let's say disclosures, or they're talking, and they can do it like in their sleep. You're like the 1 millionth customer. You know, there are times, I had one of those today where I'm like, I made some joke like, man, you could do this. You know how to do this like the back of your hand. And it stops them and they're kind of laughing about it. And you know, how's your day been? You just have, it took an extra 26 seconds. And I don't always do this, by the way. Sometimes I've been mean on customer service calls. But it was like, you just made me think of kind, or you're at a Starbucks and you make an extra comment to the barista, you know, and you just ask, how are you? And in those little moments, it's not that the meter might move wholesale in that one moment, although it can, but that helps me then just be more mindful of everyday people around me. Like that's just one little thing. So like you're saying, like any of these practical examples, being mindful of people around you, an extra compliment you can give someone, an extra way you can serve. So you see someone struggling around you, just help them out. If you're maybe in your house all day, like get outside. Like I know your job might be demanding to be behind a computer screen all day, but what can you do to change it up? Like just, you know, I don't know. There's many different practical steps out there. I know deep down we could be, I think you could be honest. Everyone could be honest listening to this, and they can answer if they're bored or if they're drifting. They know. Yeah. They know if they are.
And taking those risks, I don't know if I said that right. Taking those risks.
Taking those risks. Do you want a chip? You want a chip over here?
I might need a chip, yeah. But taking risks.
Oh, there it is.
Yes. It gets us out of our cycle, right?
Yeah. 100%.
And then maybe we start seeing some things with some new eyes.
Yeah.
And doing things a little bit differently.
Yep.
And I think that's a good recipe, at least a part of the recipe of curing boredom and drifting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then practically, you know, let's talk about this, whether it's me or you in any season of time or anyone listening, you know, bored, drift, distraction, you know, whatever. I think a good challenge for us is like if I'm sitting across the table from you, I mean, I would really, and I have asked, I would want to ask, hey, you really seem like you're bored. Like, are you bored? You know, like just the straight up, are you bored or are you drifting? And do you think guys would have responded to that well?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I know I would probably enjoy the fact that you're able to assess that. Number one, I'd be like, hey, Mike.
Would you enjoy that, or would you be bothered that I asked that question?
Maybe a little bit bothered at first, but then I would appreciate it.
Okay. I see. Yeah.
That, hey, somebody really cares to ask that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't challenge each other as guys a lot of the time in healthy ways. And so that's a healthy challenge.
Yeah.
That shows that you care about my state of being and are risking asking that.
Yeah.
And then, I want to give an honest answer back.
Yeah. And maybe that's part of the trick is, are we willing to be honest?
And that might mean that I'm going to have to think about it for a second or two, or maybe a couple minutes. So
5 seconds.
Maybe I'll get back to you on that. But
sure.
Either way, it's, maybe I am. Maybe I am bored. Maybe I am drifting.
Yeah.
And then, well, what can we do about it?
Maybe that's a good first question then for all of us to think is, okay, are we bored and are we drifting? And I know maybe you got to give it a thought. And I just know we know the answer to that when we're by ourselves in our room or driving in our car, we know. And maybe my follow-up or our follow-up challenge or question for people could be, okay, then what is it that you're not doing that you know you're supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
Like there there's got to be something you're not stepping into that you know you're supposed to be. And maybe if you don't know the answer to that question at first, I mean, think about it just for a second. You already know you're bored. You know you're drifting. So you don't want to stay bored or drifting. And I don't buy it if a guy looks at me and goes, "No, I'm good." And it's like, "No, you're not. Good. You're not good."
I don't bored. Yeah, I don't get bored. I don't drift.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. And so it's like, what are you not doing that you should be doing? And maybe it's just taking stock of that question. And eventually, hopefully, God willing, drawing up a game plan for that and getting in the game and moving forward. And you don't have to have it all accomplished and perfect, but just taking that step. That it's funny how immediately the boredom and the drift can, I think, disappear, like just melt away really fast on any given day just by some progress.
I think you're right. And I think some people might have a problem with, how do I even bring that question up to somebody and ask that? And, we're prone to isolation, I would say, as guys. Mm-hmm. We like to find that time to be by ourselves. And I think just recognizing that as part of the question. Hey, as guys, we tend to just kind of try to be alone at times and not ask these questions. So I got a question for you. And then ask the question and be okay if they say, no, I don't know.
Yeah. You gotta be okay asking the question. It's a risk, but it's out of love for someone if you're asking the question. But you listening, right now too, you got to be willing to ask yourself the question, and it deep down, if it's there or not. And guys, it's not worth looking back on boredom. What's going to come out of being bored or drifting is not going to be fruitful. It's not going to be fruitful for you or anyone around you. And it's just, frankly, not the way you're wired. You are not going to be satisfied with that. And it's just going to be lame. And so it's like, what are you not doing that you need to be doing, and step into that.
Maybe even try this, maybe volunteer that to somebody that you know really well. Hey, I feel like I'm bored and I feel like I'm drifting here and it's not amounting to anything. Do you have any ideas? And so
it's a good word. It's a good word. Why don't you see us out with that song that you had in your head to wrap up the boredom?
What style was that in again?
That was an R&B rap.
Yeah. It goes a little something like...
Thanks so much for joining us. Please consider rating and reviewing our podcast and hitting subscribe on whichever platform you prefer. Remember to keep moving forward because we're not quite there.